All right, what's up guys? Today we're going to do an install of an Inferno cab heater for this 2018 Polaris Ranger 900 XP. I looked out there and there was a couple installs for the 1000 Inferno cab heater, but nothing for the 900. And here we have star of the show. Just got our Inferno cab heater. We're going to be putting that in today. Oh yeah, before you guys give me a bunch of shit saying this thing is way too clean, it's a street only rig. No, it's because I clean it. Color photos, very nice. Won't be needing those. There, so that's it. The Inferno 900 XP Ranger heater system. Let's start this install. Set those aside. And then we need to take out our windshield, our dash, and the glove box. So this is actually an all glass non-tip out window. So we've got these four brackets right here. All right, so now we're going to pull the dash out. They just pop right out. You don't want to get underneath them and pull the whole thing out. You just want to get the top spacer out. All right, so now that's out. And you just remove this little guy. Pops out like that. Set that down, and then we also want to take the hood off. Just pivot these two little guys here. Pops that out. Super clean because I cleaned it. Very muddy back there because I didn't clean that. So we'll set our Ranger hood off to the side as well. Stand that up so I don't step on it. All right, so now we need to remove the glove box. We have our dash off. We have our hood off. We need to remove this glove box here. So open that up, and there are 4. And one thing to remember is that there is a screw way down in there, a bigger one. Okay, and the glove box should pop right out. But it didn't. I was struggling trying to get this glove box out of here, and I realized that they don't tell you this in the instructions. There are 2 down here actually that you have to back out. So take those out. Put those in there as well. All right, so now we're going to remove the lower portion of the dash, and to do that, first I'm just going to disconnect this middle portion here. All right, don't forget these 2 bolts under the dash here. Take these out. And that should allow the entire bottom portion of the dash. There's a top, middle, and a bottom. The middle portion actually stays intact. So you're just removing the bottom and the top portion. Just pop these little clips out like that. Do the same on the other side, and that should come right out. There are 2 more up here. Pop these off. There we go. As you can see, again, keep this very clean, no mud in there at all. nice clean environment to work on. So let's take some of this out here. Discard that. I'm finding some difficulty removing this lower portion, so these speaker pods are connected, so we're going to remove the speakers first, and then once we have the speakers out, I'm guessing there's some sort of fastener behind there that we need to undo to get this lower portion of the dash out. Okay, now that we've got our speaker pods detached, looks like this whole lower dash piece will come out. Look at that. So, confirmed, the glove box that they said just pops out does not. It's actually molded and it's all one piece of that lower dash. So, pull our speaker wires out there, remove this whole lower dash piece, set it aside. Probably a good time to clean that up as well. So our pile of parts is slowly accumulating, and we have the dash. Let's get this little glove box door out of here. I'm probably going to forget how that goes back in. Let's record that to make sure that I figure it out. Ow. Just like that. Okay, now we have our entire dash. Lower dash is out. We have everything exposed and ready. Upper dash is out, ready to roll. Okay, now that we have the dash apart, we're on to step 2, installing the heater box. Remove the 4 side bolts of the mounting bracket so one piece is loose and one is still attached to the heater box. That would be this guy right here. Cool. Okay, so we've removed the upper bracket and now we need to mount this under the dash of the Ranger. We've got our 3 self-tapping screws and our bracket, and we will go install it. Remember kids, safety is no accident. So when you're drilling, especially over your head, glasses. Okay. And remember these are slotted so that you can adjust it either way, but that looks like a pretty good first spot right there. Okay. Bracket is in. Now we can mount our heater. Okay, next is to actually install back the heater box using the bracket. All right, well, it's time to drill the holes through the firewall. It says to use a 1 3/8 bit, but my hole saw kit did not have that, so I'm using a 1 1/2. We're gonna see how that goes. Now you just want to listen for the pitch to change in your saw. Listen for the drill to change pitch, and that's when you're almost through. So you got a nice clean hole. Then install your rubber grommet. Now once again, it called for a 1 3/8, so I'm curious how this 1 1/2 will fit. We should have 1/8 of an inch of difference here. All right, so even though called for a 1 3/8, it looks like a 1 1/2 did the job. All right, we're gonna drill our second hole. Remember, eye protection. Quick release, drill bit. Plug our second grommet in there. All right, now you can see we have our 2 grommet holes drilled through the firewall. Heater core box is installed, and we are ready to run some hoses. I'm going to just jack this thing up and remove the passenger side tire just to give me a little more room to work. These are fuel wheels, so they have a security lug nut on them. An adapter, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but keeps the tweakers out. Okay, with the tire removed, now we can get to that coolant line where we need to splice into. Of the axle fully supported by jack stand, we're going to remove this this lower radiator hose. Pinch these clamps down. There's one, and here's the second one under here. Now I'm anticipating a bunch of coolant dumping out of here, so I have a WeatherTech floor mat on the bottom, and then I also got a drain pan just in case. Okay, not completely surprising, but we got just about all of our antifreeze dumping out here. So that's neat, nice and clean. And we'll pull off the other side of the hose here. All right, so now we have our hose out. We're gonna let this drip. That's a pretty piss poor design or instructions. They should at least tell you that you're gonna get covered in antifreeze and that your wife is not gonna want you to come into bed without taking a shower. So there's that. All right, so the instructions here are pretty crappy. The written instructions are pretty vague, so we are just going to reference the image to cut into this. So it looks like we just cut this hose in half here, right at the bend. Of course, my blade wants to freaking come out on me. Hands are soaked in antifreeze, nice and slick. Okay, keep that like that. And then this is our valve here, the Y valve. So we want to make sure that this, put your clamp on first, you dummy. Slam that in there, like that. Okay, so we have our Y fitting installed in the radiator hose, and now we need to cut a 3-foot section of this 5/8 heater hose. Okay, now we have our heater hose piece with the Y fitting completed. 3-foot section, we're gonna go install that. That one, and there's that one. Then we run this through the upper grommet hole like that. So nice and clean. Put our brackets or our hose clamps back in. So what I'm seeing here is that when I installed this with this big 1-inch space right here, it's creating a kink in the hose. So I'm just gonna take this back off while we're here, cut a 1/2 inch or 1 inch out of this to avoid that kink right there. So it's a little quality control. Not bad. All right, we have the Y connector reinstalled after I took 1 inch out here, and you can see we now have no kink in that lower heater hose. So that looks good. Run this up through the new grommets, and we'll go to the cab. So So here you see we have our hose. I'm not sure why they told you to use it, make it 3 feet, because now it's like a foot too long. Whatever, we'll cut it down. 10 snips, great on 5/8 hose, not on the other hose. This one goes to the upper. Take that little cap off. Hose clamp first. And voila. Take the second cap off. All right. Now that we have the 2 heater hoses installed in the heater core, we need to run the oil coolant line back here in the bed. So they don't tell you this, but I've been using my bed as a work platform. So now we have to close that up and watch all of our shit go down. All right, so now it's time to install our valve in the oil cooler line. So that is the line right down here. So I'm just going to use 10 snips and cut like a, I don't know, maybe a 1-inch piece out of there. So that way I don't have any more kinking. And then remember, this valve needs to be installed upside down. So the valve handle needs to be on the bottom, or you won't have proper flow, which results in no heat. Challenging, whatever you want to call it, to get in there. I should probably just take the bed off. It'd probably be easier. I'm going to do that, actually. Okay, so you can see I have my oil coolant line cut. I took about a 1/2-inch chunk section out of that. We will install our hose clamps first. Remember, this has to be installed upside down. So that's neat. There went our light. That's why I like doing this at night, because you have so much natural light and it makes for the best video. All right, we're going to continue twisting that piece down. Okay, that side is in. We've got our hose clamp ready to be tightened on that side. We've got our hose clamp. Oh, of course, that one fell off. So now we need to locate that one. What a pain. Okay, so now we need to run this heater hose. We already have it coming through the firewall here. We need to run it through that channel, through the cab, and into the back of the engine. So feed this in a little bit at a time. Come down here. Okay, well, we've got the feeder hose routed up through the belly of the Ranger, so we're going to slide our hose clamp on and connect it to the T-valve, which was challenging, and I'm expecting this hose clamp to slide all the way down to where I can't get to it. There goes my light, and now I can't see anything. Okay, that right there is blood from my knuckles. Right there. Yeah. So it looks like we have a complete T-adapter installation there. Hose clamps are snug. We'll check for leaks later. I'm going to put my dipstick back in. Boop. Glasses to the front. One of the things I noticed is that they give you 94 feet of freaking hose and they don't tell you to cut it down. So I have all this slack and then I got a kink up there. So I've already got the T-valve installed in the rear. So now I'm just going to unhook this lower hose, take all the slack out and cut it down to length. They should probably tell you that. Save you some time and effort. It's the rework that'll kill you. We have the heater hoses all ran. Now we just need to cut our ductwork. So it says to cut two 20-inch pieces. So I'm guessing that's maybe a 40. Two 20-inch pieces. There's our 2/16s. Okay, so we have our dash panel here, and the vents are going to be installed here and here for the defroster. So you flip this over, and you can see that Polaris has OEM vent slots marked there, but these vents are a little bit smaller, so we have to measure these out and cut a little bit shy. And they also said, pro tip, you can heat up a utility knife to cut through the plastic. So we will be employing that method. Hot knife. Yeah, this is a shitty way of doing it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go get a jigsaw. This is dumb. Should be a lot easier. Just drill a hole out. All right, so the hot utility knife idea was completely idiotic, and I felt like I would be here for 64 days trying to hot knife that thing out. So, old school way, just drill it out, use a jigsaw, and be done with it. Like that. And like that. And then get our jigsaw in there, trim it out. Okay, there is defroster vent number 1. Defroster vent hole cut out. Jigsaw method is a lot better, and we should be able to just snap that in like that. Beautiful. Clean. Do the other side. Okay, we now have two very clean looking defroster vents. Nice. Okay, next we have our lower dash panel. This is the back of it, and it calls for us to cut out this back panel of the existing cubby. So just like we did the vent louvers, we're just gonna drill a hole right there on each corner and use our jigsaw, save a bunch of time. The hot knife method, again, idiotic. We're gonna use a jigsaw. Much faster. Much faster there. Now it's a chore to connect the vents and the louvers and zip tie them all down, but we're getting there. All right, and then we install the blocker plate here. There's little tabs on it. Supposed to. Like that. Okay. So now we're putting the lower dash back in. We need to hook these vents up like this. Lower vents here. Alright, so now we're installing the wiring harness down through here to the rocker switch. Okay. Okay. Switch is in. Then We run this through the firewall hole to the battery. Like that. Or not to the battery, to the fuse block. And then this goes down to the heater. Plug underneath here. We ran our power to this existing winch power access here, and then we're just going to start a new ground right here on this bar. Okay, dash is in. Alright guys, so we have everything back together. The whole dash is put back in. The heater install is done. So I'm going to show you what it looks like now. I will say that the most difficult part about this was that the instructions were not as detailed as they could have been in regards to the glove box removal. So I spent a lot of time just getting that glove box out. And when essentially there's just the whole bottom piece just dropped out. So let's see how it looks. All right, so we got the whole bottom dash back in. We have the new Inferno rocker switch installed there. We have our super clean defroster vents up top, cut in nicely. And then we have the floor vents all tucked away nicely there. So I need to rotate those in there, and then we have the blocker plate right here, which provides a clean look as well. So, test it out. Our starting temperature, engine temp is 114. Engine warm up just to fuzz, and we actually have heat already, almost instantaneous. So not super hot, a little warmer than it is. It's about 36 outside right now. Take it for a ride. Well, we actually have a lot of heat already. It's been, I don't know, 8th of a mile. This thing is already warming up nicely. It's on high. Just cranking. Pretty impressed so far. I'm only doing 15 miles an hour. Leaving the subdivision right now. Alright, so we're doing 40 or 50 down the road now, and it does expose the draft holes a little bit more, but we got to get those plugged up. Then we deal with the heat. Super hot heat. It's keeping up just fine. Pretty impressed so far. Engine temp. Holding steady. Under 200. Woo! Just got some fuel. We are now full. It is toasty in the cab. Screaming on the highway. We were doing 55 there. So far so good. Staying warm in here. Woo! All right, well, it's been a couple weeks now since we did the Inferno cab heater install, and I gotta say, very impressed with it. Super hot, fantastic heat. You can sit in there with a t-shirt on when it's like 20 degrees outside. So I did want to point out a couple caveats, right? The trickiest parts were uninstalling the glove box and getting that lower dash panel out. The instructions were a little vague there, and on this model, the 2018, it was all one piece. So that glove box was a little tricky to get out. The other few things are, it does expose a lot of the draft vents coming through your firewall. So I did buy the Polaris cab seal kit that has a bunch of gaskets and foam pieces to block all of that cold air coming in. So that was a big help. And then at about the 22-minute mark or so in the video, there was a spot where it tells you to cut out the back of that cubby hole. And the written instructions don't show it very well, but in the picture you can see that you can actually cut that whole back cubby off, like with a sawzall or a jigsaw, instead of I drilled 4 holes and then just cut the very, very back out. So you can cut it right up to where that backer plate goes and save a bunch of time there, and save you the frustration of running those duct vents through that little cubby hole and then back up to the heater. So all in all, super impressed, really good heater, happy with the product.